This is Alibaba, a hardworking and diligent young man who does manual labor daily to earn money with the hope of reaching the labyrinth. While carrying goods back to the truck, Ali discovers a kid who calls himself Aladdin, gnawing on the boss's watermelons. At that moment, the boss comes to inspect and Ali tries to hide it, but the boss barges in to look. As a result, Ali gets beaten by the boss and loses his wages. Feeling bitter that evening, Ali meets Aladdin again. Ali is very angry and decides to conquer a labyrinth to make money. These labyrinths appeared all over the world about 14 years ago. Whoever conquers them will have a vast fortune along with valuable treasures, the most famous being the flying carpet and the magic lamp. Ali then falls asleep from exhaustion. The next morning, Ali tells Aladdin about his strong desire to conquer a labyrinth, and the first one he aims for is the one up there. The labyrinth up there appeared 10 years ago, and Ali is determined to conquer it to gain wealth. He needs money to change the entire country and also doesn't forget about indulging in pleasure of that money. Suddenly, Aladdin bumps into a girl. The girl seems angry, but Ali soon realizes she's a slave. The girl appears to want to hide her chains and walks with difficulty, so Aladdin decides to take out his flute and blow a note that breaks the chains on her feet. However, everyone is shocked by this action because it's considered slave theft and will be seen as a crime. Ali's employer comes and wants Ali to take responsibility for this girl, either become a slave himself or pay money to buy her. But Aladdin blows another note and two giant arms suddenly grow out and teach the employer and his men a lesson. Guards then come looking for them, so Ali has to pull Aladdin away to run. The girl, now free, also escapes. They both hide in a basement, and Aladdin tells Ali that inside this flute is Ergo, a genie. Ali sees value in this person and decides to befriend Aladdin. The fat manager has now gone back to report to the boss about the escaped slave. Ali, wanting to become closer friends with Aladdin, takes the boy to see some girls as Aladdin really likes big-breasted women. After seeing that Aladdin also has a purpose to enter the labyrinth, to find more friends for Ergo, Ali feels reassured. Ali then calls for the best-looking girl in the place and is shocked when the most attractive girl turns out to be a muscular person with a face that makes one want to faint. When leaving, Ali is caught again by the manager. He wants Ali to either return to work to pay off the debt or let him post wanted posters everywhere. Ali wants to go to the labyrinth to earn money to pay, but the manager laughs at him, so Ali has no choice but to continue working to pay off the debt. The next morning, just after finishing work, Aladdin discovers that the girl he freed before has been recaptured and is about to be sent to the mines to work. On the way, Ali can only listen and flatter the boss, even though both he and Aladdin know these are lies. Suddenly on the road, the whole convoy is attacked by a giant tree. The boss only cares about his alcohol and tells Ellie to quickly gather the alcohol. The girl and a little girl have fallen into the mouth of the tree, but the boss doesn't care. The child's mother keeps screaming for someone to save her child. Ali can't stand this greedy boss anymore, so he decides to punch him in the mouth and takes a barrel of alcohol down. He tries to open the tree to throw the alcohol in so the tree will release the people, but his strength isn't enough, so Aladdin has to call out the genie Ergo to help. Ergo opens the tree and Ali throws in the alcohol barrel to make these tentacles release the two girls, but Ergo is quickly tied up by the tree, forcing Ali to only manage to pull the people out before he himself falls in. But Aladdin has untied the headscarf, which is actually a flying carpet, and Aladdin brings down a lot of alcohol to save Ali. Ali has accepted his fate at this point, but Aladdin drops a bunch of alcohol to make the tree release Ali and Ergo. They both escape afterward, and the boss keeps screaming because his alcohol is gone. But Ergo rises up, sweeps through once, and then takes Aladdin and Ali away. Ali has escaped the troublesome job and begins his adventure with Aladdin. They then arrive in front of the labyrinth. Ali knows that after touching this door, both of them will be sucked into the labyrinth, and no one has ever come out of the labyrinth, so this can be seen as a one-way journey. Ali isn't quite sure, but Aladdin, sleepy, pushes both of them in. When brought inside, Ali finds himself on a small lake. What's more, there's oil on the water's surface. As soon as he sees Aladdin, Ali quickly runs to bring Aladdin to shore before the fire reaches down and burns the entire lake's surface. Meanwhile, the city's lord has also decided to enter the labyrinth. Inside, the two young men are being chased by rolling rocks, so they have to call Ergo out to run quickly. All three then fall into a cave. Aladdin complains of hunger because each time he calls Ergo out, he loses energy. Ali thinks they were somewhat wrong not to bring anything with them. Suddenly, Ali discovers a large ant nearby while Aladdin has already been bitten on the head by a giant ant. Ali has to pull the boy out and use a knife to cut the ant. Seeing they seem weak, Ali slashes all of them. Suddenly, they liquefy and merge into an ant person and start spitting fire. Aladdin has to call Ergo out and paint fire on Ergo's hands for him to strike once and completely destroy this ant person. Aladdin then faints for exhaustion, so Ali has to leave Aladdin in a nearby corner to rest. Ali decides to try blowing the flute to call Ergo, but he doesn't have that talent. He decides to wait until Aladdin wakes up, then both will decide to talk about their circumstances to understand each other better. Suddenly, when Ali wakes up, he discovers that the Lord has entered here. Suddenly, that pink-haired girl discovers Ali and Aladdin in here and calls the Lord over. The Lord ignores Ali and only comes to call Aladdin by the name Magi. Suddenly, he orders people to take Aladdin away and deal with Ali. Ali has managed to circle around and subdue this muscular servant, so the Lord has to praise Ali while disposing of that muscular servant because he thinks Ali is stronger than this one, which means this one is disposable. Ali is then taken away with the Lord. When they reach a stone tablet, it's in a language Ali knows, so the Lord rewards him for being useful. Ali then translates the stone tablet and decides to jump over this fire and pull the lever in the dragon statue's mouth. The Lord's group has just passed when the fire rises again and burns Ali. The Lord sees Ali's usefulness has ended. Aladdin then wakes up and is told by the Lord that Ali has stolen Aladdin's flute and left. He then takes the remaining muscular servant to scout and leaves the pink-haired girl here to watch Aladdin. Aladdin sees that she seems gloomy, so he makes a clown face to make her laugh. She has been told that she comes from a dark territory, but in fact her homeland is just an underdeveloped area. But it's not developed because people have already lived very well there, as that place is very sufficient for human living. Aladdin then asks the girl where Ali is and she tells him Ali is dead, but Ali appears right on top of Aladdin's head. The Lord then returns and is shocked to see Ali again. In fact, Ali had mistranslated the stone tablet and found the real path at the dragon statue's feet. The fire column that burst up at that time was just to deceive him. He then rides the flying carpet with Aladdin to escape. The girl used her strong legs to climb the wall and chase after them but couldn't catch up and fell down. Ali and Aladdin, after escaping, have come to a door. This door needs two people to open, and so, open sesame, both of them then seem to get outside, but it's just the scenery. In fact, they're still inside. The Lord at this time blames the girl, but the monsters only focus on targeting him. Aladdin reveals that Ergo once told him about how in each labyrinth there will be a room that is a cemetery, so this might be that cemetery. Ali wants to get acquainted with Ergo, so he tells Aladdin that when he gets the flute back, he wants to learn more about Aladdin. Both of them then reach the real cemetery, and it seems to be the final room of the labyrinth. Suddenly, that muscular slave falls straight in here. The pink-haired girl suddenly rushes in and kicks Aladdin away. The Lord has also found his way here. He then has the pink-haired girl watch Aladdin again while he decides to teach Ali a lesson. But even though Ali was holding this small knife, he was still completely able to overpower the Lord because the Lord's sword skills could never match his. The Lord also recognized Ali's stance as that of a king. Ali had forgotten his past, but his body hadn't. The Lord then called the girl back to help her, launching an attack from where Aladdin was towards here. Ali was kicked to the ground, and the Lord then gave the sword to the girl and let her deal with Ali herself. But at this moment, Aladdin woke up and used a totem mask to cast a spell. He came to help Ali up and demanded the flute back from the Lord. The Lord didn't return it, so Aladdin warned him again. He started using magic, making the Lord realize that his master's words were true. Aladdin was indeed the sorcerer who guides kings, the one who would become the power for the king Aladdin chooses. The Lord then sent the pink-haired girl to attack, but she was immediately locked in place by Aladdin. He demanded the flute back, and the Lord was forced to return it to him. Aladdin then turned back to Ali and let him know that he was still just Aladdin, Ali's friend, and no one else. Suddenly, a pillar of fire erupted, and the genie who governed this labyrinth appeared. He recognized Aladdin as a Magi and saw that Ali seemed to be the one who would become the king Aladdin chose. Suddenly, Ergo emerged from the flute and used body language to communicate with the genie because his head hadn't come out yet. The genie then introduced himself as Ammon and said he was the ruler of this labyrinth. They were officially recognized as having conquered this labyrinth. Ammon then informed Aladdin that Magi was the term for sorcerers with the power to choose kings. Humans need a king to manage and lead them. The king of the genies had sent people down to choose kings, and the one sent down was Aladdin himself. Ali was only concerned about whether they could take all this gold back. Seeing Ali like this, Ammon couldn't understand why Aladdin had chosen him. Suddenly, someone was trying to seal the exit from this labyrinth, so Ammon created a passage for them to escape. Ali tried to persuade the pink-haired girl to leave and ignore the Lord, but the invisible chain still bound her to him. Suddenly, the big guy came over and told her she no longer needed to obey him. She was now officially free, and he would choose to be buried here with this evil Lord. Before saying goodbye, he used his knife to cut her chain, completely freeing her. Aladdin's group then officially left, and the one who had sealed the entire labyrinth was another Magi. Ali said he would use these riches to go to the city Sinbad had established and make Sinbad's dream a reality. Ali was truly grateful to Aladdin because thanks to him, he had been able to conquer this labyrinth. If he hadn't met Aladdin, he would probably still be working odd jobs with no future. He called himself a coward, but Aladdin reminded him of the heroic deed he had done before entering this labyrinth. Both promised to try to meet again and continue their adventures together. Afterwards, when they had completely escaped the labyrinth, Ali sat at the place where the labyrinth had collapsed, while Aladdin had been teleported to some strange place. Ali then used this money to free all the slaves in the town and waited for Aladdin to return. But the pink-haired girl had come back to thank Ali for freeing all the slaves, and she decided to set off to return to her hometown. Ali also decided to set out to find Aladdin. Meanwhile, Aladdin had woken up. He met an old lady who called him a child of Rook. Rooks are the soul butterflies that both Aladdin and the old lady could see. When people die, their souls become Rook. Aladdin told her how Rook often helped him, making her realize who he was. Aladdin then went outside and saw that this seemed to be a nomadic village. The scouting party had returned, and this young man, Dogi, was the one who had found Aladdin and brought him here. This village was being pressured by the royalty, but they were confident they could drive them away like before. They then saw Aladdin's genie and were startled, thinking he was a spy. He had to introduce himself and ask them about the city where he had been separated from Ali. They had heard of that city and informed him that this place was very far from that city, but in 2 days there would be a caravan coming here, so he could go with them to meet Ali again. That night, the old lady told Aladdin that this nomadic tribe had lived together for centuries, and she considered Aladdin as part of this big family. The next morning, Aladdin was playing the horse and was carried away quite far. Luckily, Aladdin was rescued by a girl riding a horse. She introduced herself as Wren, a princess of the empire with a mission to come here for diplomatic negotiations. She knew this tribe was a powerful nomadic tribe under the leadership of Chief Khan, but recently, the tribe had been weakening. She wanted them to become her colony, hoping to connect all the lands together. But the courtier accompanying her didn't like this peaceful negotiation style. He bluntly declared that this village would now be under the empire's rule. Dogi angrily rushed forward but was blocked. The old lady wanted Dogi to back down while the princess, feeling humiliated, had to leave. That evening, the princess decided to issue a new order the next day. Suddenly, Aladdin came to beg her not to harm the village. But she only wanted to unify everything to create a world without killing. Seeing Rook flying around her without hesitation, Aladdin chose to trust her in return. But just as Aladdin returned, the women in the village had been taken away by soldiers. The old lady wanted Dogi not to kill anyone because if one person died, war would break out. Aladdin went back to ask the old lady what happened. The soldiers were now planning to sell the girls, but Dogi had led everyone there and managed to get onto the horse carriage. Dogi remembered the old lady's words, but seeing the girl he loved almost harmed, he couldn't keep calm. Meanwhile, Aladdin had asked the old lady because she seemed to know what Magi really was. She only knew that Magi was someone who had once descended to Earth, conquered a tower, and then created a powerful empire. The first empire created was said to be this powerful nomadic tribe of hers. Hearing this, Aladdin understood a bit more. He then told her about his discussion with the princess, so she didn't need to worry. At that moment, Dogi's group had returned, and he still remembered her words and hadn't harmed anyone. At that time, he had regained his composure and stopped before war broke out. The old lady then decided to follow the princess's words, because she had realized that what she should protect was the lives of her descendants, not that foolish pride. They then sat around the campfire. The old lady excused herself to go to the bathroom for a while. While standing and looking at the moon, she decided she had to try to live until the day she saw what she was waiting for. Suddenly, an arrow flew straight into her back. Aladdin, still unaware, wondered why she was taking so long. Aladdin and the others then discovered that the old lady was injured. She was still alive and needed to be taken back to the village urgently. Aladdin took out his flying carpet to bring her back quickly. The next morning, a soldier of the empire returned with arrows all over his body, and that general blamed it on the nomadic tribe. But the princess wanted to go there personally to confirm. The general didn't agree, but she insisted on going, so he demanded that she hand over control of the army to him. Meanwhile, the villagers couldn't stand it anymore and demanded to stand up and fight. Dogi wanted to stop them, but couldn't. So while the old lady was unconscious, the villagers took up weapons to rise and fight. The general had actually planned this. He intended to let the princess go for two purposes. If the princess died, he would become the leader, and if the princess returned, she would be angry at the villagers and become bloodthirsty as he wanted. The princess was now surrounded by villagers. One rushed up and cut her shoulder, but she didn't dodge. She just wanted to resolve the misunderstanding. The villagers didn't believe her, but the old lady had woken up and come there. She decided to bow and apologize to the princess and didn't mention that she had been shot by the princess's people. She chose to become the princess's colony and wanted the villagers to obey. They felt a bit humiliated, but Dobby let the villagers know that they should live for others and not for their own selfish pride. The villagers reluctantly put down their weapons, and when they returned, the old lady couldn't survive and passed away. The old lady's soul stayed to talk with Aladdin for a while longer. She truly cared for Aladdin, but he couldn't mourn for her as much as others could because he had so few memories with her. She now understood who Aladdin really was, that he was a magi, loved by the flow of Rook and lent its power. She wanted him to continue on his path, and she would become part of the Rook flow to help him. Meanwhile, when the princess returned, she discovered that the general had led the army to attack the nomadic village. She told him that the whole village had agreed to become a colony, but he didn't care. He was also going to deal with her and report that she had sacrificed herself in battle. But when a barrage of arrows flew towards her, she was still able to block them because she was also someone who had conquered a labyrinth. The princess had her courtier attack first while she transformed to fight. Aladdin was about to leave when the Rook flow guided him to where he needed to go. The general had ordered arrows to be fired even though they hit allied soldiers because he knew the princess would certainly use her power to protect them, and then she would quickly run out of energy. The princess realized the problem and decided to launch a powerful attack to clear everything at once. But though it seemed she had succeeded after the whirlwind, the general and his soldiers were still alive. The princess was captured, and the general planned to send her brother to join her soon. The princess was forced to rise up and demand a duel, but he had someone shoot arrows at her, wounding her. At this moment, Aladdin arrived. He cleared out the soldiers and dealt the general as well. He revealed his magi identity to the princess and called out the Genie and her fan. Ergo also appeared to explain to the Genie, but she refused to help Aladdin because she only served the candidate she had chosen, which was this princess. She also revealed that the princess's brother had also been chosen as a candidate for kingship by the magi living in her country, and the magi she mentioned was the one who had caused the labyrinth that Aladdin and Ali conquered to collapse. Aladdin then said goodbye to the whole village to set out. He noticed that the sword the whole village used was similar to the one used by the big slave, so he told the whole village about what had happened to that person. Aladdin recalled Ergo's words that if he didn't know who he was, he should go out and adventure, and at some point, he would find out the reason he was born, and now Aladdin felt that seemed correct. And now Aladdin continued on his journey to find his friend Alibaba again. Now we turn back to the pink-haired girl. Her name is Anna, and she's currently traveling with two friends her age who she met while on her way back to her homeland. Anna thanked the two friends for letting her travel with them, but they also liked Anna because she was very hardworking. On the way back to her homeland, the group passed through a town full of thieves and robbers. A passerby informed them that this place was affected by the civil war right in Anna's homeland, which is why it was full of thieves and robbers. The group then encountered a slave trader and was surprised that slavery existed here. Seeing the familiar sight made Anna wish the bruise on her leg would disappear soon. She dreamed again of the traumatic scene of being enslaved by the Lord from a young age. When she woke up, her blonde friend Layla decided to give Anna something to help her sleep better. Anna was still grateful to them, but Layla revealed that she had also been saved by their friend Sasha when she was about to die in the desert. She had also been helped a lot by a little boy before meeting Sasha. The next morning, the caravan leader informed Anna that the only road to her homeland had been blocked by a group of bandits, so now if Anna wanted to go home, she had to go by herself because they would have to take a detour. Anna asked him if the bandits disappeared, could they continue to let her travel with them? So that night, while the bandits were just partnering with that slave trader, Anna sneaked into their lair. She straightforwardly entered and gave them a chance to leave or she would send them away. One seemed to look down on her, so he was immediately knocked out with one punch. The whole group then drew their weapons, but when the leader heard the loud noise and came out to see, he saw one by one being knocked down by Anna with just a few hits. The slave trader recognized her as one of the best warriors of the tribe in the Dark Territory. He then took advantage of the moment when she was beating up those guys to send a crow to scratch her. Suddenly, she began to feel dizzy and fainted. When she woke up, Anna found herself locked up with a little slave girl. The girl and her family were captured by that guy in Brogir. The girl didn't know what it was like to become a slave, so Anna told her. Seeing the frightened girl made Anna remember how she used to be like this girl. Not wanting the girl to go through the scary time she had experienced, she promised to help the girl escape from here. Meanwhile, Layla knew Anna had gone into the robbers' territory and wanted to go rescue her, but was forbidden by the caravan leader. Anna woke up to find the girl had a fever, so the slave trader came to check and decided to feed the girl to the hyenas, because he didn't want to waste medicine on a worthless slave. Anna wanted to escape to save the girl, but the ankle shackles were still too strong. Seeing the girl about to be thrown down, Anna looked back and saw the image of the muscular young man who had freed her. He told her that she had truly escaped from the chains, and what was holding her back now was only the fear from the past. He believed she would easily overcome that fear. So at that moment, she jumped down there and crushed the ankle shackles herself. She shouted to scare away the hyenas and broke the handcuffs to untie the girl. The slave trader released a pack of tigers, but they were all dealt with by Anna. She then rushed up to find him, and he had to surrender. She demanded the keys to release all the slaves. Anna helped the girl reunite with her parents, and somehow, by coincidence, Aladdin was here. Aladdin explained that while traveling with his caravan, he hit a large rock and lost consciousness. When he woke up, he had been captured and shackled here. Someone had found the food for Aladdin, and right at this moment, the caravan leader had brought mercenary soldiers to rescue people, but they discovered Ergo was sweeping through here. Aladdin was happy to see Layla and Sasha again. The boy Layla mentioned before was actually Aladdin. He had traveled with this group before meeting Ali and leading to subsequent events. Aladdin had actually returned to the original town but couldn't find Ali, so he decided to continue traveling, and now he wants to go with Anna to her homeland, hoping to maybe meet Ali. That evening, the whole group sat down to celebrate together, and the next morning, Aladdin and Anna separated from the caravan to go their own way. Meanwhile, 3 robbers who escaped from that lair were wandering around when they accidentally saw a drunk young man sleeping by the road, covered in gold, silver, and jewels. This person was none other than Sinbad. We have a video summarizing all the events of Sinbad's story. You can click on the eye in the corner, or I'll put it in the comments for you to find and watch. Back to Aladdin. Anna could smell that Ali had passed through here. Suddenly, both of them ran into Sinbad, the young man who had been completely robbed of his belongings, so Aladdin had to lend him some clothes to wear temporarily. After hearing the story of Aladdin's group, Sinbad told them both that they just needed to go up the hill to see the place they needed to go. Indeed, when they stepped up the hill, they both saw the port city, where there were ships leading to Anna's dark territory. This place was very rich and powerful thanks to the trade resources from the sea. However, there were also poor people here, so this place was still considered an underdeveloped city. Sinbad had taken both of them to the best hotel, and he would pay for their stay. Sinbad's people had found him again and took him inside. When they went in, Sinbad's younger brother Jafar asked where all the stuff on Sinbad's body was. He said it had all been stolen, but the most important thing was the magical items from the maze that Sinbad didn't bother to keep carefully. Now Aladdin and Anna had checked into their room. Aladdin asked the maid when there would be a ship leading to the dark territory. Meanwhile, Sinbad had met the king of this place and proposed to reconnect the trade route with his country, but it was not possible yet because of some issues. And that issue was also a problem for Aladdin's side, that recently a group of robbers had appeared with the name the Mist Brigade. They had taken advantage of the mist to rob the royal treasury and the nobles. The wealth they stole would be distributed to the common people, so the people viewed the robbers as heroes. At the same time, the robber band became stronger since they got a new leader, who was none other than Alibaba. Sinbad decided to deal with the Mist Brigade without the king's help. In return, he would regain trading rights with this place. Sinbad then invited Aladdin for a meal. He introduced Jafar to him, and the other person here was Masrur, a person from the warrior tribe like Anna. Jafar didn't know how Sinbad planned to fight the robbers now that he had lost all his divine vessels, when suddenly Aladdin called out Ergo. He recognized that Aladdin was a magi, so he introduced his own reputation. He was the king of a country, a person who had conquered 7 dungeons and was the master of 7 jinns. But Aladdin's face remained blank because he truly hadn't heard of Sinbad's fame. Aladdin wanted to know what the nature of a magi was, but Sinbad only knew that a magi was someone who could use the Ruch energy to summon jinns easily. Normal people could only use the Ruch energy inside their bodies, but a magi could use Ruch energy from the surroundings. Sinbad had asked Aladdin to help defeat the Mist Brigade. Anna also agreed because she needed the trading ships to return so she could go back to the Dark Territory. So Aladdin agreed because if he helped the king of this place deal with the robbers, he could ask the king to help him find Ali. Sinbad didn't want a girl like Anna to fight, but she stomped hard, making Sinbad take back what he just said. Jafar then devised a plan that only 2 places would be targeted in the upcoming robbery because he had spread false information to make the robbers target only these 2 places. They were still a bit worried because the robber band was supported by the people, but Sinbad thought that the robbers distributing the spoils to the people was to justify their criminal behavior. That night, Jafar and Aladdin's group guarded one place. Jafar told Aladdin not to worry because even though Sinbad had been robbed of all his divine vessels, the title of King of the 7 Seas that Sinbad had wasn't just for show. Sinbad on the other side was keeping watch. Suddenly, some citizens came to attack him. They were all poor people from the slums. The nobleman there threw a half-eaten chicken leg for them to fight over, but Sinbad told them not to let the nobles oppress them. Aladdin's group was about to run over to Sinbad when suddenly something happened. The soldiers at the place they were guarding suddenly turned and started slashing each other. Jafar realized this red smoke was causing hallucinations, and indeed the robbers had attacked this place. After clearing out the soldiers, another robber took out a sword with the ability to create acid to corrode the wall for his companions to infiltrate. But Jafar had thrown projectiles to tie them up. However, just as he jumped down, another person holding a magic weapon made Jafar unable to move. Anna also rushed down to fight but was tied up by him as well. Aladdin was looking for Ali when he called out Ergo to block their way, and then Ali himself appeared before Aladdin. Ali had asked Aladdin to call Ergo back because Ergo was scaring his friend. Aladdin obeyed and asked Ali if he still remembered their promise, the promise to explore the world together. But Ali had walked past Aladdin and apologized for not being able to keep the promise. Ali then took out a knife and called the Jinn Amin to bring down fire to open an escape route. The next day, Sinbad was surprised that the Mist Brigade had someone who had conquered a dungeon and was also Aladdin's friend. Meanwhile, Ali had recruited the 3 robbers who stole from Sinbad and reminded them to remember the rule of this group: steal from the rich and give to the poor. If they had any intention of embezzling for themselves, they would be expelled immediately. When leaving, the young man with a black magic sword named Qasim showed Ali how the children were getting better thanks to them. Qasim reminded Ali of how they both used to struggle in the slums and asked Ali to change this place. Ali was struggling between 2 choices. 1, continue the promise with his benefactor and best friend Aladdin, or 2, fight for the justice of many people. Ali was about to go to sleep when he encountered Anna. She had questioned Ali about the reason for his change and betrayal of Aladdin. He had nothing to say, so Anna carried Ali away from the lair and made him meet Aladdin. The 3 thieves were now thinking about joining the gang or selling Sinbad's divine objects for money. However, at this time, the Empire's paper currency was being circulated in this city. Jafar informed that this city was also part of the Empire's colony ruled by Princess Ren. Sinbad asked about Aladdin and learned that Aladdin had lost his spirit and locked himself in his room. Aladdin was now trying to be as optimistic as possible and decided to ignore Ali, but his body couldn't act according to his thoughts. Aladdin had been looking forward to meeting Ali again, but now it was just a disappointment. Suddenly, Anna dragged Ali back here. After that, both of them kept talking about irrelevant matters, so Anna asked Ali to get to the main point. She asked if Ali knew how much impact his gang of thieves had on this city. The gang's attacks had caused the local economy to stagnate, making this already poor place even poorer. And it would only lead to more exploitation of the people. Aladdin wanted to avoid talking about these bad things and asked to say something cheerful first. Aladdin told about his own journey, and Ali decided to tell both of them about Qasim. From a young age, Ali and Qasim often fought but also worked well together. Ali's mother was a very good person, but Qasim's father was a real bastard, frequently abusing his children and being an alcoholic. Until one day, Qasim's father disappeared, so Ali's mother adopted the 2 Qasim brothers. But one day, Ali's mother died of illness, so Qasim stood up to protect the 2 brothers, and all 3 of them did many different jobs to make a living. Gradually, Qasim joined a group to go stealing. Ali wanted to help Qasim, but he thought he was inherently evil because of his father, so he didn't want Ali to keep living honestly and brightly like his mother. Until one day, the king of this port city came to find Ali and claimed that he was his son. Ali's mother was a servant in the palace and had a child with him, but at that time he had rejected the child, so now he wanted to find him again. Ali thought Qasim would hold him back here, but Qasim bluntly drove him away, so he fought with Qasim and then left for the palace. After 3 years in the palace, Ali had been taught everything about knowledge and swordsmanship. And then one day, Ali secretly escaped from the palace to return to the slum, but this place had been cleaned up and he also met Qasim here. The 2 went to a bar to have a drink and talk to each other. Ali foolishly told Qasim about how he had used a tunnel to escape, so Qasim had a dark look towards Ali. When Ali returned, Qasim had someone follow him. Ali was called to meet the king's father, and he informed that he was about to pass away and wanted Ali to be the successor, because he believed Ali was the best he had raised. Suddenly, when Ali went outside, he discovered Qasim was having people steal things from the palace. Ali was knocked out, and Qasim set fire to the entire palace. Ali then drifted to the original city and started working with the hope of gradually getting closer to the maze. Sinbad and Jafar outside had overheard and learned about what happened in here. Anna still wondered why Ali still followed Qasim even though Qasim had betrayed him once. Ali reluctantly recounted that after separating from Aladdin, he had come to this city and saw the poverty here. He asked the people and learned that this poverty was caused by the Mist Gang. And coincidentally, Qasim appeared with the title of leader of this gang. Qasim told Ali the reason he attacked the castle years ago was to take revenge on the king. In the past, the slum was immersed in a plague. Qasim's sister was also infected, and the king only isolated them in the slum without giving any medicine to cure them. And his sister died because of the plague, so he hated the king. He couldn't tell Ali the truth the first time because he was afraid Ali would torment himself for not being able to do anything to help his friends. Ali knew that Qasim's gang was ultimately still thieves, but he would rather be a thief to save his loved ones and friends than live like trash. Therefore, Ali had directed the gang towards a goal of robbing the rich to give to the poor. Aladdin realized that Ali was now thinking the same way as the nomadic old woman, that she had also put her pride before everyone's safety. Aladdin knew that what Ali was doing now would inevitably lead to a war. Ali couldn't think of any other way, but Aladdin decided to support him in finding a solution. Suddenly, Qasim brought people to rescue Ali, while also hunting for Sinbad. But Sinbad, even knowing they were coming for him, wasn't afraid at all, because even without his divine equipment, he could still fight using the power of Rook. Qasim had pulled Ali to the rooftop, and Sinbad's group also ran up. Masr had rammed into Qasim's people, scattering them. When Qasim used a magic sword to bind Sinbad, he used Rook to escape. Sinbad caught Qasim and demanded Ali to stand and duel with him as two commanders, but if Ali wanted to run, he would still let him. Ali, determined not to let this band of thieves be destroyed, used the power of the divine equipment to fight Sinbad. Sinbad recognized his swordsmanship and saw that he was combining techniques quite well with the divine equipment's abilities, but Sinbad quickly caught him and knocked Ali to the ground with one punch. Jafar informed that their fate would be the gallows, but Sinbad suddenly changed his mind. He wanted to join this group of thieves and fight with them. When Jafar questioned this, Sinbad explained that he wanted to help this group completely change this country that was exploiting its people to the extreme. Qasim didn't believe it, thinking that a king like Sinbad couldn't understand the plight of the people. Jafar went to warn Qasim to shut up because he knew nothing about Sinbad. Sinbad was then allowed to join, and he said that what he needed to do now was to take Ali to negotiate with the king of this place, while also calling the people to witness. The next day, people saw a notice about those who were dissatisfied with the king of this place to gather in front of the palace, along with an announcement that the leader of the fog troop was the former prince of this place. Seeing so many people gathered in front of the palace, Sinbad let Ali know how they were waiting for him and how dissatisfied they were with the current king. But when entering the negotiations, Ali used his status as a member of the royal family to talk to this king. He didn't mention that he was the one chosen by the king father to succeed because he still considered what happened years ago with the king as his fault. But the king refused to negotiate, considering Ali a commoner rather than his royal brother, and dismissed Ali, making him extremely dissatisfied. At this moment, the black magi had arrived and walked past Aladdin. He sensed a dark Rook surrounding this person. The one accompanying the dark magi came to meet Sinbad. He introduced himself as a banker of the empire and had come today to discuss business with that king. Suddenly, the dark magi also came up here. Sinbad recognized him as Judar. He now served the empire, so the king asked Sinbad to leave because all trade privileges in this place have been authorized to the empire. If the empire hadn't allowed it, this place couldn't trade with Sinbad. The negotiation failed, so when Ali returned, he didn't know what to say to everyone. But Aladdin thought that what Ali had done had affected many people. Sinbad was now standing up in front of everyone to announce, and Ali was also called. He was brought up to stand with Sinbad, and he announced that although the negotiation had failed, they could now openly stand up and fight to overthrow the king and this corrupt government. Sinbad would lend them power to fight, and if they lost, his country would accept them. At this moment, Judar showed up. He also wanted to cooperate with Sinbad to find something interesting to do. Jafar had informed Aladdin that this person was a magi like him. The other had noticed Aladdin and came to see, showing contempt that a shorty like Aladdin was a magi. He pretended to want to shake hands but then punched Aladdin. He then looked to see who was Aladdin's candidate and realized that the one who had been ignored by the king this morning was the candidate for the throne. Aladdin had stood up to protect Ali. After that, both sides wanted to seriously fight each other. Sinbad wanted to intervene but couldn't because this was a battle between magi and he didn't even have any divine equipment on him. The two magi then used Rook energy to attack, but Judai wanted to stop this because it seemed that both were protected by Rook, so using Rook didn't cause any damage to the opponent. Instead, he wanted to use magic. By converting Rook into energy, he could create lightning magic like this. He threw lightning at Aladdin, but the boy called out Urgo to block it. Seeing that he could summon a divine equipment, Judai acknowledged the boy's ability and cast a spell to concentrate the mist, condense it into water, and freeze it. He threw a bunch of ice down, which Urgo blocked and then jumped up to knock him down. Judai still had some ice left and launched a surprise attack, forcing Urgo to use his body to shield. Aladdin tried to climb up to give Urgo more power, but Judai thought he was only making Ergo more severely injured, so Aladdin wanted Ergo to return. Ergo didn't return, causing Aladdin to ask what his reason for fighting them was. He simply felt bored and wanted to find someone for entertainment. He continued to attack, forcing Aladdin's friends to come help. He was arrogant, thinking Ali was quite weak, but Ali managed to break through his shield and give him a slash to the face. Angered, he blew Ali away. At this moment, Ergo rose up to fight again. Ergo continuously punched Judai's face, causing him to accuse Aladdin of cheating because Aladdin had stopped providing Rook to Ergo, so Ergo was now fighting with someone else's Rook. So basically, Ergo no longer belonged to Aladdin. He then stabbed Ergo with a large ice shard and was gloating when Ergo immediately grabbed him and crushed him. Ergo then completely lost control. Aladdin couldn't control Ergo at all. What's worse, Ergo intended to kill Judai outright, but another princess of the empire had sent people to rescue Judai. Seeing that Ergo still wanted to fight, she drew her weapon to block the attacks. But blocking endlessly achieved nothing, so she used her weapon to charge forward and attack, giving Ergo a large hole. Ergo was forced back into the flute. Aladdin rode his flying carpet to fight, claiming that Judai was the troublemaker. So she decided to have her 3 masked subordinates jump down to deal with the innocent people below. The biggest one was blocked by Masrur, another was handled by Jafar and Anna, while the sword-wielding one faced off against Ali. The princess herself confronted Aladdin, but Sinbad stopped her hand and told Aladdin to calm down as well because the divine equipment wouldn't die from such a wound. Sinbad asked the princess to leave, so she had to let Aladdin go and withdraw her people. Aladdin saw that Ergo's star had disappeared, so he tried to transmit energy into it. Sinbad and everyone else went to check if anyone was seriously injured. Fortunately, no one had died. Anna felt useless for not being able to help, and Ali also blamed himself for not being able to use the divine equipment to help Aladdin at all. Ali was checking his wounds when suddenly Anna walked in. Anna helped Ali check his wounds when suddenly Jafar reported that Aladdin was in danger. They went to find him and saw Aladdin unconscious, his life hanging by a thread, while the flute was still draining Rook's energy from him. Sinbad told Ali to remove the flute from Aladdin and take him to a room. According to Sinbad, Aladdin had used too much energy leading to exhaustion, and because he was too exhausted, Aladdin couldn't use Rook's energy to replenish his body, resulting in the flute draining energy from Aladdin's very life force. The star on the flute hadn't returned yet, so they would have to leave Aladdin like this for a few days. The troop members then asked Ali what would happen to the fog troop now, but Sinbad said he would take care of everything and his reinforcements were about to arrive. Suddenly at this moment, the army arrived. Ali reunited with the teacher who had taught him swordsmanship. He came with the deputy king, Ali's older brother. Sinbad revealed that he was their insider. The deputy king had provided them with information about everything in the palace. According to him, years ago when the king died, their older brother ascended to the throne and the banker from that empire came and had a way to restore the economy here. He introduced paper money to this country, but the circulation of paper money in this place caused inflation because paper money only had value when trading with the empire. As the country became more inflated, the government had to borrow more from the banker, and then all the rights in the country were used by him as collateral for loans. This caused the exploitative taxes from the people to keep increasing, and the nobility didn't care about how much the people suffered but just kept borrowing more when they ran out of money. Eventually, the king decided to use the people as collateral, and so the port city of the past has now been turned into a city specializing in selling slaves. Anna knew that the viceroy came here to tell this story in hopes that this situation would disappear, so she demanded that Ali must stand up to prevent this. The pressure kept mounting on the young prince's shoulders. The viceroy informed that in just 5 days, the king would marry a princess from the empire, and by then, the treaty on slave trade would be passed, and they could only overthrow that king within 5 days. The general then had to tell the viceroy to go back and rely entirely on Ali. The next morning, Ali could only sit beside the unconscious Aladdin and confide in him. Sinbad noticed that they still hadn't solved any major issues. He felt Ali lacked confidence and couldn't be expected to do much. But Anna came in and said that Ali was the one who saved her from slavery, so she still believed Ali could save this country. Sinbad realized he had judged too soon. Sinbad then called Anna and Ali to talk. He revealed that the reason the empire had recently become so powerful was because of a Magi's support. According to Sinbad, Magi are powerful sorcerers known for their ability to summon labyrinths and guide humans through them. Sinbad had once conquered a labyrinth created by Judai, so he became interested in Sinbad, and from there the two developed a conflict. Judai had created many labyrinths in the empire, thus making the empire as powerful as it is now, and the empire is now deceiving and trapping the king until resources are exhausted. So now their immediate enemy is this country and the king ruling it. Sinbad then invited the others out to talk privately with Ali. He found it interesting that Ali was also a labyrinth conqueror like him, but Ali felt that he conquered them all thanks to Aladdin. He was too weak and could hardly reach Sinbad's level. Sinbad reminded him that this country needs a big change, and he would help Ali become the king of this place. He would use all available resources to help Ali, but Ali thought he couldn't become a king. He then went out to reflect for a while when suddenly he was spotted by the people. Surrounded by people, Ali didn't know how to cope when suddenly Qasim pulled Ali onto a boat and took him away. Qasim had learned about the king's plan to turn people into slaves, so he decided to incite people to stage a coup and create a war. The mysterious person behind would be the one to supply weapons to them. But Ali disagreed because doing so would only increase the number of bloodshed. However, Qasim believed that it was bound to happen and the people would be willing to sacrifice for freedom. But Ali obviously didn't accept this. He then said he would handle this matter himself without letting anyone die. Qasim was tired of Ali's lack of determination, so he decided to lead the uprising himself. If Ali interfered again, it would become enemies next time. Ali then returned to ask Sinbad to help him learn how to control the divine equipment because he needed power to change the world. The next morning, Sinbad showed him the first step was to learn how to unite with the power of the divine equipment. He needed to transmit a large amount of energy into the weapon to unite the weapon with his body. That form would be called divine equipment. He then practiced to make his own flame bigger. However, even after using up all his energy, it still wasn't big enough. Ali asked Sinbad how to recover energy, and he said he needed to rest near the divine equipment for a few hours. But in the middle of a battle, if he ran out of energy, how should he deal with it? He said there was still a way. After training, Sinbad received news from Jafar and decided to go meet the princess from before. He was confident he would meet her, and she would listen to him. Jafar had to agree because everyone knew Sinbad was the biggest lady killer of the 7 seas. Ali was now sitting beside Aladdin. He felt he had caused trouble for Aladdin, but Anna believed that Aladdin always saw Ali as a good friend, so Aladdin being in this state to help Ali wasn't troublesome. Hearing those words from Anna, Ali had an epiphany and also found what he was determined to do. Anna then noticed Ali seemed strange, and suddenly she realized what Ali intended to do. Ali then went to the palace, where people were passionately protesting. He wanted to act before Qasim incited people to revolt. Ali revealed himself and requested to meet the king. When the soldiers refused, they were pelted with stones by the people. Ali stopped them and said he would go alone so they needn't worry. Meanwhile, the princess from before was feeling depressed because she was being married off in a political marriage. She hadn't even seen the face of the king she was about to marry and could only hope he was as handsome as Sinbad. The banker had now given the king 3 masked warriors as the princess's dowry. Suddenly, someone announced that Ali had come. The king told the banker to do something, so he sent the biggest one down to fight. As soon as he came down, he transformed into an elephant with 3 trunks. Ali tried to throw fire at him, but he kept sucking water and spraying it at Ali with high pressure. Ali knew just fighting like this wouldn't work, so he tried to concentrate to activate the divine equipment. But his flame wasn't enough to activate it, so he was chased by the elephant again. He ran while counterattacking and tried to transform at every opportunity. Then, while concentrating, he was struck by the other one. He was about to be trampled when images of everyone appeared. Some advised him, some hoped for him, some criticized him, making him fall into despair. But Aladdin was the one who gave him light so he could continue to stand up and fight. He now realized that things like power couldn't help him at all. Only self-improvement was the truth. The elephant then went berserk and decided to take Ali's life, but he successfully summoned the divine equipment and split him in half. He could only transform into a sword, but in this case, a sword was enough. The banker then released a group of monkeys. Even if they were cut in half, they would recover into 2. Another one showed up, but Anna came to help Ali. She would handle these monkeys so he could go meet the king. She shouted, paralyzing the monkeys, and then threw Ali straight through the wall. The monkey gave Anna a chance to get out of the way because she was stunned by his speed last time, but that time she wasn't serious. Sinbad had now heard about what was happening at the palace. Sinbad had originally planned to wait until reinforcements arrived to resolve it politically, but now that Ali had acted on his own, he had to go there to resolve it. Ali now faced the last one. He was a leopard and the swordsman Ali had dealt with before. Ali's sword could cut his sword in half, but the divine equipment had expired, so he went back to using a knife. But Sinbad had shown him how to recover energy. He had to create fire for the genie to absorb. He threw out an oil bag and lit it to use the divine equipment for a short time, enough to cut the leopard in half. Anna was struggling outside because there were too many monkeys. She remembered the technique Master had used and tried it, but she wasn't fast and strong enough to reach the leader. She jumped continuously on 3 nearby corners and lunged straight at the leader, kicking right through him. The pillars she had jumped from also collapsed and crushed the remaining monkeys. Ali had entered the king's room. The king ordered soldiers to subdue Ali, even though he said he came to talk. But the king still ordered soldiers to deal with Ali, forcing the viceroy to stand up in opposition. He called the general to protect Ali. He was tired of being weak and useless, so now he had to do something to help his brother Ali. The princess noticed it was noisy outside, but the courtier here had lied to her, saying they were just checking the wedding gifts, so she shouldn't worry. Judah now showed signs of recovery. Anna had dealt with all the monkeys out there. The king now showed the viceroy how pressuring it was to be king, as he thought the viceroy would replace him when he was overthrown. The viceroy couldn't handle the pressure and collapse, so he was called a coward. But Ali stood up to defend this brother and declared he would overthrow the despicable king. His words now couldn't sway the soldiers anymore. But at this moment, the princess also appeared. She found the old king a bit ugly, so she didn't want to marry him much. Hearing that he would abdicate, she requested to elect a new king. The general thought the viceroy should take over, but he chose Ali because he was more suitable. But Ali objected. He wanted to cancel the contract with the empire about selling slaves and decided to abolish the monarchy from now on. This country doesn't need a king, but a government and council. The people will be the ones to decide their lives freely. At this moment, Sinbad also arrived. He brought diplomats from the Seven Seas alliance he established. Originally, they came to request Ali to become king to change this place, but Ali seemed to have his own answer. The princess wanted Ali to take responsibility for the loan this country had borrowed from the empire, but Ali said this country now had nothing left, so it was considered collapsed and no longer existed. This place would now become a new country, and that loan contract would be considered invalid. But he knew he couldn't make such a brazen request, so he considered offering her that if the contract was cancelled, she wouldn't be pressured by political marriage. At the same time, this place would give the empire the freedom of navigation they wanted. In return, the empire should spare this country. The princess had to choose between war and loss or compassion and benefit. The princess didn't accept, but Sinbad said he would bring Ali's new country into his alliance to protect this place, so the princess had to decide to report back to her father king for him to decide. The princess then left and felt a bit pressured after the confrontation just now, and fortunately, she would rather die than marry that pig. And so Ali resolved everything with the empire without causing bloodshed. He then went out and announced the country's changes to all the people. His speech was welcomed by the people, but suddenly the banker emitted a stream of black rook throughout the city, and Aladdin suddenly emitted a large amount of rook, and they suddenly flew away. After the speech, Ali knew he would have to stay here to change the country, so he couldn't keep his promise to go on adventures with Aladdin yet. But that stream of dark rook was now led by that mysterious person around Qasim's army. It seemed Qasim still didn't know anything about what happened at the palace. Ali was trying to celebrate with the people when Qasim came with an extremely tense face. Seeing Ali do everything by himself, Qasim could only silently congratulate Ali. However, Qasim didn't like this peace. He boldly declared that this country originally belonged to the people, whether abolishing the monarchy would bring back the losses that people had to suffer. He blamed all those sins on the royal family, meaning Ali at this moment. The sword emitting that hallucinogenic smoke made the people even more insane. Ali had made his choice, and now so did Qasim. Meanwhile, Aladdin's consciousness had been brought into the flute to meet Ergo. Ergo said Aladdin had almost died after forcing too much energy out of his body. The mysterious person who had supported Qasim's group now crushed the banker to release more dark rook and completely overwhelm the stream of light rook Aladdin had emitted. Ergo tells Aladdin that there are many who are trying to go against the flow of fate. Everything Aladdin has experienced so far has been in a positive direction, but some have gone against that and caused the flow of rook to turn black. Aladdin should have died in the previous battle if Ergo hadn't personally intervened. Ergo was forced to use energy from the old master because Aladdin wasn't Ergo's master. Ergo used the last bit of strength to call Aladdin here to show him that Ali is about to be annihilated. Ali's destiny is to become king, and Aladdin has the task of guiding Ali to that destiny. To do this, Aladdin needs to know more about himself, so Ergo will send him to meet the king of Genie, Solomon. Ergo regrets that he won't be able to see Aladdin again, but believes Aladdin will be fine because he has made friends out there. Aladdin is then sent into space, and a voice guides him on his way. You will know who this voice is when he reaches the end of the path he must take. Jafar sees that Aladdin is okay, so he and Masrur go out to handle the situation. Ali is now forced to divide his soldiers to control the people while he goes to confront Qasim. He then blocks the advance of Qasim's group. When he wants to know the reason for Qasim's actions, Qasim says that the monarchy shouldn't be abolished, but should be combined with both systems, that everyone has the right to be king. Qasim has Ali tied up with magic swords, but Ali draws out divine equipment to break all those magic swords and threatens Qasim that he will act if Qasim advances. But Qasim isn't afraid of death and constantly challenges Ali. The general wants Ali to act because everything will end when Qasim dies. Ali still can't bring himself to act and repeatedly begs Qasim to withdraw and stop everything, as all of his people have been subdued. But he still has one trump card. The divine object he's carrying has a different mechanism. By cursing his own fate, Qasim will be able to unlock the true power of the sword, but if he can't open it, he will die. Qasim stabs himself with the sword and it reacts. The auxiliary swords fly up one by one and pierce Qasim. He then turns into a giant demon. According to the mysterious man, Qasim has turned into a dark genie. It starts throwing balls that cause anything they touch to disappear instantly. Anna rushes up to kick the demon down for Ali. His one strike isn't enough to defeat the demon. It starts absorbing dark rook from around to recover. As long as there's dark rook, the demon will keep regenerating, and dark rook won't disappear as long as people hear a hatred. Anna rushes up only to be thrown away by the demon's gravity control ability. Sinbad joins the fight and tries to hold off the demon for Ali to finish it. Ali knows he has to free Qasim. Ali rushes to stab the demon, but the dark rook pushes his sword away. He borrows more power from the genie and gets an armor, but the image of Qasim appears again, making him hesitate and get pushed back. Sinbad is thus eroded more strongly. Sinbad is thrown away, but Qasim's recent appearance has weakened the demon for a short time. Sinbad wants Ali to take advantage and act. He still hesitates, so the soldiers come up to fight for him. Seeing everyone's determination, Ali regains his strength. Sinbad also contributes a little for him to rush in. Just as he's about to reach the demon, Jude appears and knocks Ali away. Ali has missed the opportunity and is out of energy to use the divine equipment. The mysterious man wants Jude to eliminate Ali soon because he's a potential threat in the future. Meanwhile, Jafar and Masrur are rescuing people, while the three thieves have decided to return the items to Sinbad because only he can change the situation now. From afar, Aladdin is also riding the stream of light rook to get here. Judag then uses magic to manipulate the demon. He also locks Sinbad down and makes the demon grow bigger to thoroughly deal with Ali. Anna has to help Ali avoid attacks, and he asks her to throw him up to the demon. Ali decides to take a risk and go all out in one strike by using energy from his own body like Aladdin. Anna can only follow Ali's determination because now, even if he did nothing, Ali would die. But as soon as Ali went up, he was pushed down by Juday. He gave the demon a sword and rushed to break Ali's divine equipment. Ali still wanted to try again because the sword had not yet disappeared. Anna couldn't ignore Ali's determination and kept helping him time after time. At this moment, Aladdin had come to help Ali. Jugai wanted Aladdin to call out the genie to fight him, but Ergo could no longer go with Aladdin. However, Aladdin could use Rouge energy to create a copy of Ergo. But even though Aladdin had exerted all his strength to attack Juday, and the demon only made the demon disappear for a while. He asked Anna to take Sinbad to meet some people in the city, and at the same time he knew that he wasn't yet perfect enough to defeat Juday, so he asked for Ali's help. He wanted Ali to see that the people still held on to hope, and Ali was the one who had ignited that hope. Thanks to hope, Aladdin was recharged with power, and the mysterious man knew that Aladdin had obtained Solomon's wisdom. Aladdin then created a fire spell and threw it at Ali for his sword to absorb and return to its original form. Ali charged forward and Aladdin stayed behind to support. Ali managed to stab the sword into the demon but was immediately sucked inside. Aladdin remained unfazed and showed Juday some images that gave him a headache and made him collapse. Aladdin let Ali know inside that he needed to pull Qasim out of the darkness for this dark genie to disappear. Qasim revealed that he had long hated Ali for his optimism. Qasim had always wanted to drag Ali down into the abyss of despair like him. Aladdin knew Ali would be hurt by these words but believed Ali would overcome it. Qasim thought Ali was too perfect with his royal blood and kind mother, while he only had a terrible father. He didn't accept that fate decided people's lives, so he decided to fight against the fate imposed on him. Ali broke free and said that Qasim had never understood him. Ali had never thought or cared about the things about himself that Qasim mentioned. He thought he was just like Qasim, also born in the slums, also having to struggle to survive. Qasim showed Ali how miserable his life was during the time Ali disappeared, from the spread of the plague to the death of his sister, and then the entire slum being burned down for quarantine, and then how the fog troop was formed by that mysterious person. Ali was heartbroken because he had never tried to understand Qasim. He had always been afraid of being pointed at and compared to Qasim. Hearing these things, Qasim had a change of heart. Qasim realized that he had never tried to understand Ali either. He had always tried to catch up to Ali, but never realized that Ali was trying for both of them to be equal. The darkness disappeared, the dark genie was gradually shattering, and Qasim knew this was the final moment for both of them. Qasim regretted not apologizing to everyone and not talking more with Ali. Before leaving, Qasim showed Ali that he had killed his own stepfather when he intended to sell Qasim's sister to a brothel. He accepted his fate, but didn't forget to poison Qasim that he was just as evil as him. Ali now tried to chase after Qasim, but it was too late. The demon officially disappeared, and that mysterious man had also taken Judah back, but on the way, he was ambushed and taken down by Sinbad's group. Sinbad was exhausted afterwards, but he knew he had only solved a small part of the problem. A snake crawled out of the mysterious man's body. An entire church behind the recent incident had noticed that Aladdin had just taken his first steps, and they would have many more challenges for Aladdin. Aladdin wanted Ali to stop crying because when people die, they become a part of the Rook flow. He let Ali meet his father and mother again. Aladdin wanted Ali to know that people may die, but they will always watch over us. Aladdin also let everyone return to meet their families one last time. Qasim and his sister returned to meet Ali one more time before returning to the flow. Sinbad returned and saw that magic truly were people with amazing abilities. Not long after, Ali had rebuilt the country and established a council. He knew he still couldn't go on adventures with Aladdin. Suddenly, the snake from the mysterious man's corpse came to bite Ali's hand. The general pulled it out and noticed it wasn't poisonous. However, a large fleet from the empire was spotted offshore. Sinbad didn't know the empire's purpose in coming here, but he worried they might conquer this place as a lawless country since Ali hadn't yet been able to write new laws with the council. Or they might capture Ali and control the country. Ali didn't want to run but wanted to stay and face them. But Sinbad knocked Ali unconscious, and when he woke up, Ali found himself on a ship being taken to another place. Jafar informed him it was Sinbad's country. Sinbad had gone to the empire himself to negotiate as the head of the alliance. Several months passed. While Anna was training with Masrur, she heard news that Sinbad had returned. Sinbad asked Jafar to gather everyone for an announcement. Sinbad revealed that he had helped Ali's country gain freedom and protection under the empire, but control of borders and taxes would be decided by the empire. That was all Sinbad could do to help. Ali thanked Sinbad for doing what he couldn't. Ali wanted to secretly help the country, but Sinbad informed him that the Shadow Organization had their eyes on Ali. All wars and bad things that had happened before were due to that organization's involvement, including the recent events in Ali's country. Sinbad wanted Ali to help him in the quest to defeat that organization. He would train Ali and Aladdin's abilities here. Conveniently, there was a sea monster nearby, so he would show them the abilities of the tutors who would teach them. Encountering the sea monster, the people were all happy because the hunting season was approaching. Sinbad's 8 generals appeared and 2 were chosen to demonstrate, a magician and a swordsman. The magician restrained the sea monster, allowing the swordsman to process it immediately, from beheading, gutting, and separating meat from bones to cutting it into small pieces to distribute to the people. Sinbad then introduced Aladdin to his tutor, the magician Rayha. When Aladdin saw her large breasts and hugged them, Rayha boiled him and warned him not to be perverted again. The swordsman was introduced as Sakin and would be Ali's tutor. Sakin and Rayha didn't like each other much, but Sinbad asked them to postpone their fight because tonight was a festival. Ali learned that sea monster attacks were common here, so Sinbad had turned each attack into a festival, making the country prosperous. Sinbad called Ali's group to introduce the 8 generals. Jafar and Masrur already knew them. Next was Hina, a warrior from the Arctic tribe who had appeared in Sinbad's story. Then there was Draco, a dragon-like person who was formerly human, and beside him was his wife. Indeed, other people's wives are always the best and most unique. The 2 tutors, Rayha and Sakin, were already known. The next person was Pisti, and finally Mistress, who had also appeared in Sinbad's story. All were from countries in the Alliance and had backgrounds similar to Ali's. Jafar asked Sinbad if he had made any progress with the Empire's princess, but he hadn't done anything yet. Hina advised him to think about marriage as he still didn't have a wife. Ironically, the ladies' man of the 7 seas now had no lover, simply because Sinbad saw everyone on this island as family. Anna later met with Ali, and Ali asked her why she wanted to continue following him instead of returning to her homeland. She still felt indebted to both of them, so she wanted to follow and help them. Aladdin said she didn't need to ask permission because freedom was hers. Anna now truly felt her own freedom, that she could do anything she wanted. So she started dancing. Although neither of them understood Anna's dance, Ali encouraged her to continue. Soon after, Aladdin was taught by Rayha how to use magic. It involved using commands. The magic Aladdin could use now, though powerful, was only basic. By combining multiple commands, Aladdin could use spells like this disguise. He had great potential if he could master magic. Ali is currently practicing swordsmanship. He wants to use this large sword to match the divine equipment from the Genie Amun, but his knife is broken, so Sinbad has let him along. He informs Ali that he can transfer the genie's mark to another object, but it must be something deeply meaningful to Ali. However, Ali only has the first knife that his father king helped him buy with the first money he had. So Sinbad takes out the knife that Ali's father king once gave him when he came to that country. Ali received the knife back from Sinbad, and Amun's seal quickly transferred over. As for Anna, Sinbad took her to the warehouse for her to choose an item to help her contain the power from Ali's genie Amun. She didn't know what to choose, but she needed something that was also meaningful to her, as long as it was made of metal. So she took out the ankle shackle that she had worn for a long time. This was the shackle that Aladdin had broken for her. The muscular man had cut off for her, and Ali was the one who officially freed her from it. Suddenly, a delegation from the Empire arrived. The two representatives were Prince Haku and the princess from before named Koji. Sinbad was a bit disappointed that he didn't have a chance to meet her while at the Empire, but she angrily drew her sword and demanded to skewer Sinbad. She believed he was a pervert who had defiled her body. Jafar immediately asked Sinbad what he had done, but he didn't know. The young advisor who came along had to recount what happened that day. On the day Sinbad and the Empire's king were in discussions the next morning, Sinbad somehow woke up in Princess Kogi's bed. Sinbad now stands in a dangerous situation. Sinbad doesn't remember what happened that night. He only remembers that he drank politely that day and then got drunk, so he went back to his room to sleep. The reason he wasn't wearing anything was that he usually slept that way. The princess had to tell the truth that at that time, she had hidden in a corner of the banquet room to admire Sinbad, and when Sinbad left, she followed him but was drugged by someone, and when she woke up, she saw Sinbad beside her. Everyone suspected Sinbad was the one who had drugged the princess and then took advantage of her in the night. Sinbad tried to explain his innocence, but everyone had to turn their backs on Sinbad because Sinbad's harassment of other people's daughters was no longer unfamiliar. Sinbad began to bring up his past feelings for them, and they admitted that normally Sinbad was good, but when drunk, he was not. Sinbad was forced to marry Princess Kogi if he didn't want a war to break out between the two countries. Sinbad adamantly refused and asked Raya to help him. Raya had to reread the rook flow of both and saw that that night Sinbad had indeed returned to his room to sleep, while the princess was taken by someone and placed on Sinbad's bed. They thought Sinbad had done something while drowsy, but in the end, nothing happened. The princess realized she was wrong and apologized, but the advisor insisted on punishing Sinbad. He was the one who had knocked out the princess and framed Sinbad for this because he wanted the princess to have a child, and then he would become the guardian for the princess's child and have more power when the child became king. Because the initial plan failed, he framed Sinbad so that the princess could have the man she loved and he could get what he wanted. The two soldiers who were present that night had to bow their heads and confess that the advisor was the one who set the trap. Sinbad had him arrested, but Prince Haru knelt down to apologize for the trouble caused by his people. He still had reasons to come here, so he asked Sinbad to forgive them and let them stay. The advisor later showed sincere remorse to be forgiven by the princess, but Jafar bluntly spat in his face. That afternoon, Prince Haru informed Sinbad about the organization they were hunting that was hiding in the Empire, and he wanted to cooperate with Sinbad to destroy both the Empire and that organization. But Sinbad refused because he needed Haru to mature more to realize the good and bad sides when the Empire disappeared. He introduced Haru to Ali and told him to learn from Ali if possible. Ali at this time was taken by Seiken to drink and feast. While Seiken was busy with two busty girls, Ali met another muscular woman. The next day, Aladdin continued to progress in magic training, while Ali didn't progress much because Seiken thought he wasn't suited for such a large sword. The way for him to overcome this situation could only be found by himself. Aladdin and Ali then told each other about their training processes. Anna has now returned. She shows off how she had the shackle remade into 2 ankle bracelets, but this cumbersome chain is a bit obstructive. Aladdin thinks it's better to remove the chain, or she should think of a way to use it. At this moment, the princess and Prince Haru arrive. Haru thanked Aladdin for saving his older sister Ren when they were with the nomadic tribe. It's known that Princess Ren and the nomadic tribe are now in harmony and together. The princess also asked to shake hands with Aladdin, but they both still seem to hate each other from when she severely injured Ergo before. Prince Haru also knows that although Ali appears cordial on the surface, he actually still harbors resentment for what the Empire did to his country. As the prince spoke, a voice appeared in Ali's head urging him to hate the prince. When he couldn't hold on anymore, Ali collapsed and his hand showed a lot of toxins from the snake bite months ago. Sinbad then had to rush over to see, and from that amount of toxin, the mysterious man from before appeared again. Sinbad lunged to slash him and toxic blood splattered on him as well. He revealed that Ali and Sinbad had been cursed by him. Ali's body will now produce dark rook, And if Aladdin tries to transmit Solomon's Rook into Ali, the two Rook streams will contrast and cause Ali's death. But if not treated, the dark Rook will cause Ali to deteriorate. He then left in the helplessness of the protagonists. Sinbad then told Ali a way to reverse this situation. He must conquer a labyrinth, and the Genie ruling that labyrinth has the ability to heal all illnesses. Sinbad won't be able to go along due to the number of his divine equipment reaching the limit. Haru also asked to go because he wants to help and also wants to try conquering a labyrinth and find himself a magi, as he doesn't want to rely on Judai. On the ship, Ali keeps pondering, but Pisty wants him to relax because Ali still has 10 days to use energy without worrying about the toxin spreading. Suddenly, a sea monster appears and Pisty uses a flute to communicate and make it leave. Pisty looks like this, but is actually older than Ali. However, Aladdin looks at that part, which seems a bit small, so he's a bit doubtful about what Pisty said. Haru has now brought out food, and all of this was cooked by him. Everyone has a different view of Haru because he's not like what they imagined a prince of the empire to be. The voice in Ali's head still wants him to hate Haru, and before leaving, Sinbad heard about this and thinks that if that voice is from Ali's conscience, he must overcome it himself. Meanwhile, Jafar wonders why Sinbad doesn't lift his own curse, but he thinks he should leave it like this to motivate Ali's group. Ali's group has now landed on the island with that labyrinth. At the port, Ali's group met two quite mysterious people. A little girl, realizing Ali's group wants to go to the labyrinth, asks to go with them to save her parents. Pisty says the labyrinth in this place is rumored to be able to swallow anyone who comes near, and most people swallowed can't get out. They can't take the little girl along, so Haru promised to find her parents and bring them back. If they're already dead, he will also try to destroy everything in that labyrinth. On the way, Aladdin notices that Anna has decided to wear the bracelets on her arms. Suddenly, as soon as they see the labyrinth, they are indeed immediately swallowed by it. Upon entering the labyrinth, Haru is completely surprised because this is the first time he has entered such a magical place as this labyrinth. There are many doors here, and maybe one of these doors leads to the final room. When entering the room, some talking turtles appear. They demand to eat them, but their bites aren't even painful. So the whole group moves to another room and more animals appear. Then they gather in large numbers and start causing trouble for the group. But Aladdin sees that they're just trying to protect their offspring, and surely the reason is because they've trespassed, so the animals are angry. Anna then found a passage, and they proceeded to enter and encountered a large bear. It demands honey, but the group doesn't have any, so it attacks them. Haru is still a bit shocked, so Anna has to stand in to block the attack and let Ali and Aladdin finish it off. The burned bear ran into the water to extinguish itself. They successfully passed through the door and then saw a garden with human faces on trees. A genie named Dragan appeared and revealed that these were all people he had captured to serve as food for this garden. And then from the trees, more residents for the garden were born. Haru wanted to try to save the people, but the genie informed them that they could only be saved by magic, and this magic was too complex for Aladdin to reverse, so only Jagan knew how to break the spell. Jagan hated humans and would rather die than serve a human. Haru angrily rushed forward, but Jagan threatened him with a little girl. Jagan had caught the girl wandering nearby and captured her as well. Jagan said he would go with them if they were capable of reaching the treasure room. After saying this, Jagan left and left behind a gate. Haru was quite hasty, so Ali had to tell him to calm down. The group then entered the door together to face the first challenge they had to overcome. This room had floating rocks, so falling would mean instant death. Jagan saw that Ali brought along a divine item that a magi would have, so he knew the boy was not ordinary. He created an eerie sound that made the rocks go crazy and attack everyone. Haru also wanted to help everyone, but they all knew defensive magic that made his physical attacks ineffective. Through training, Aladdin had been able to use more diverse magic to attack and chase the monsters and increase the fire on Ali's sword so he could deliver the finishing blow to the last one. Afterwards, they both walked and praised each other for their significantly improved skills. As for Haru, seeing that he was always helped by others, he wanted to take care of himself from now on. The genie overheard this and separated them into two groups. Haru, going with Anna, accidentally encountered statues controlled by magic. Because they were all made of stone, Anna's physical attacks didn't cause any damage. Haru threw his own energy into his blade and slashed down one of them, but using energy continuously like that quickly exhausted him. Anna wanted to help, but Haru, with his stubbornness similar to Ali's, didn't let her participate. However, Anna said whether she wanted to fight or not was her choice, so she stepped up herself. Unable to use rocks, she hubbed the statues and threw them at the remaining ones to shatter them. After Haru regained consciousness, he suddenly cried like a child. He felt useless, and Jagan kept insulting Haru, making him sulk at everyone. Ali approached and said that he also had responsibility and understood Haru's feelings. Ali now realized that he truly didn't hate the prince and wanted to ensure no one would be lonely anymore. Ali made peace and reconnected spirits with Haru. Sinbad was still monitoring Ali's group's situation based on Rayha's magic. Suddenly, the barrier surrounding the island created by Rayha was destroyed. The one who broke the barrier was Judai. He had recovered and came here to say hello. Jafar attacked, but his power couldn't touch a magi. He came here to ask Sinbad about something he was curious about, which is why a fourth magi had appeared, because in fact only 3 magi could exist at the same time. He himself was the first magi and the other 2 were still anonymous and alive, so why was there the appearance of Aladdin? Moreover, Aladdin possessed power that even he had never heard of. He revealed his main purpose in coming here was to inform Sinbad that his organization was planning to carry out an attack aimed directly at Sinbad's kingdom, and his task was only to remove the protective barrier of this place. As for Ali's side, Aladdin had realized that this Jagan was not a real genie, because with his normal power he still had to use body parts to defend. In fact, he was just a creature created from this maze and had a shape similar to the real Genie Jagan. Ali was angry at the actions he had done to the people, so he rushed in and swung a sword that cut off his head. However, he absorbed energy and regenerated. His real body was now deep underground in the maze. After that, the group was tricked into a trap by him and fell right into his real digestive tract. At this moment, Anna used her chains combined with the borrowed power from Ali's Genie. She swung the chains to hold everyone back and swung up to get everyone out of this place. She then went back down there and used her ability to manifest divine items and burn the entire real body of the imposter. However, that power also nearly depleted Anna's energy, causing her to suffer severe injuries and faint. The group then opened the final door to approach the real Genie Jagan with a mysterious person, and the 2 mysterious people they met at the port were already there waiting for them. Both of them coming here was part of their plan, and obviously their goal was still to eliminate both. Haru was forced to take the little girl and Anna away from the danger zone so Ali and Aladdin could fight freely. Facing Aladdin and Ali was a princess of a once powerful kingdom, but her country had collapsed, so her reason for joining the organization was to seek power and restore her kingdom. The person accompanying her was her night guardian. Ali once again witnessed someone stabbing themselves with a weapon to become a dark genie. Ali once again saw the image of Qasim appear. Her ability was to control sand and wind to create sandstorms. Aladdin had to wake Ali up to make him realize the opponent was not Qasim. The 2 then rushed into battle together. As for Judai, he wanted Sinbad to join him or else try to kill him because he was looking forward to a day when he could fight Sinbad. But now he just came to inform and do his part of the job and then leave. He also let Sinbad know that the Empire already had up to 5 people who had conquered the labyrinth, so their military was not weak at all. If you cooperated with those people, this island would surely be wiped out in the blink of an eye. The princess was very shocked to hear the news, so he wanted her to try to return soon before the organization attacked this place. He then flew away and Sinbad had to open a meeting with the 8 generals to prepare for the counterattack. The barrier now would take 10 days to rebuild. Because Sinbad was in this unstable situation, he had to rely on his 8 generals, and they also promised not to disappoint Sinbad. The princess then stepped forward and expressed that she didn't know what Judai had just said. Sinbad thought that the war between this place and the Empire would happen sooner or later, but that was a future matter. Now it was initiated by the organization, so Sinbad told her to return to her country because the war could affect her. But the princess wanted to contribute and fight alongside Sinbad because she was also a dungeon capturer. He appreciated her sincerity, so he didn't want to force her to return. Back to Ali, he was fighting against the knight. Ali's movements were quite slow, making him not interested in fighting. He didn't understand how a rat like him was recommended by a magi. Aladdin was also blown away at this time. Both realized the gap between them and their opponents, but they still didn't give up. Ali remembered his master's teaching that too big a weapon didn't suit his fighting style, so he returned the knife to its original form and transformed it into a divine weapon form for easier use. With his specialty in fighting with this small knife, Ali was able to increase his speed. As for Aladdin, he continuously used spells to make the opponent deplete their Rook energy. Because Raya had taught he was loved by Rook, so his infinite energy source was his strength. Aladdin successfully tied up the monster to concentrate on the finishing spell. Ali, on the other side, had also disabled the knight's limbs, but the mysterious person intervened to prevent Aladdin from using magic. He decided to show them both the true power of the dark divine item. He then turned the dark genie back into the princess, but cloaked in dark equipment. She then rushed up to fight and used her sand control ability to continuously change weapons and caught Aladdin. Ali had to come to rescue Aladdin, so they could continue fighting together. The knight was now also awakened, and his limbs suddenly returned to normal as if nothing had happened. He now had the ability to move while floating to increase speed without being affected by that heavy armor. He made it impossible for Ali to keep up, but Haru had returned to support Ali, while Anna had been taken by him to the treasure storage room. Aladdin wanted Ali to stall for time because he believed those two would soon run out of energy, but the mysterious man informed them that the organization was currently on its way to Sinbad's island. The reason was that Sinbad had interfered too much in their affairs, so they would no longer leave him in peace, and fortunately, Sinbad was currently sealed. He thought Ali was the cause of everything. Wherever he went, calamity followed. He then told the princess to let Haru live, but she had decided to use her ultimate technique to finish everyone at once. Meanwhile, on Sinbad's side, the enemy had reached their doorstep and the generals were about to face their own enemies. They were all users of dark divine objects, and Sinbad found it strange that they brought so few. Back to Aladdin, he realized this was an ultimate skill, something that any divine object user could use if they knew how. Aladdin wanted to break her spell, but the knight stood in the way. Ali and Haru decided to hold off the knight so Aladdin could break the spell, but the knight was still too fast for Ali and Haru, not to mention that both of them fought disjointedly without knowing how to cooperate. In a moment of carelessness, Ali was targeted at his blind spot, forcing Haru to run to shield Ali and turn into Yang. The princess's ultimate spell was also completed. She threw thousands of swords at all three of them, and the chance of dodging them all was almost zero. On the other side, Seiken now had to face an opponent with the ability to create shadow clones from his divine object. Being overwhelmed by numbers made it difficult for Seiken to cope. Master encountered an opponent who could summon 2 genie arms like Aladdin did before. Seeing that Master could block attacks quite easily, the opponent had to resort to using dark equipment. The generals were generally still doing fine, so Raiha thought that the organization must also be struggling, but the enemy revealed that they didn't know their true purpose yet. Pisty had her sea monster aim to swallow this black mist, but the sea monster immediately rotted when it touched the mist. This was their main purpose. Once this mist swept across the island, no living creature could survive. Back to Ali's side, the group still survived after that move because Aladdin had intentionally used a lot of water magic from the beginning to create water vapor and used magic to refract light to deceive her into attacking the projection. The mag had now run out of magic and revealed that he was just a sand puppet created by that princess. She had been by this knight's side since childhood, but only now learned this truth. Ali looked at her suffering from losing her close one and felt angry. Angry because they were being used, angry because of what they had done, and now appeared so pitiful. The princess was very angry with Ali and demanded that he pay the price. Ali could have dealt with her right then, but he didn't. However, the mysterious man did. He ruthlessly eliminated her when she had no more value to exploit. Meanwhile, Master decided to borrow power from Sinbad to use his divine equipment's manifestation and rushed to stab the opponent. Seiken was surrounded by countless shadows created by his opponent. He also used his divine equipment's manifestation to extend his sword and cut through both the enemy and his shadows in one strike. The princess was still crawling at this point. Ali had run to her and started to see images of her past. He saw scenes of her happily together with a knight when they were young, until her kingdom was overthrown, and scenes of her father being killed, the entire kingdom being burned down. Aladdin had told Ali not to empathize with her Rook, but Ali continued to watch and saw the scene of her last important person being killed right before her eyes, the scene of the knight being killed by the rebels who believed that her death was fate. He gradually absorbed her emotions and thought that fate was only something worthy of being cursed. Aladdin knew that whenever someone cursed fate, their Rook would turn black. Aladdin tried to call Ali back but received no response, so he intended to intervene. However, the mysterious man didn't give him that opportunity. He had told Ali that he was the reason for all the suffering in his life. It was he who caused chaos in Ali's kingdom, made his best friend die, and now Sinbad's kingdom was at war again. He was the reason Ali came here, causing that princess to lie waiting for death and Haru to lose his arm. It was also he who brought the Lord from the beginning of the film to the city where Ali conquered the labyrinth. So if he hated him, he should use that dark divine object to kill him. The moment he killed him, he would officially lose his way. He stabbed the man with a knife and was welcomed to the darkness. Meanwhile, Sinbad saw images of Ali and realized he had made a mistake in letting Ali's group go there. Ali had officially turned dark and obtained a set of dark equipment. The eye on Ali's forehead was preventing Aladdin from using magic, so Anna returned and decided to destroy that eye to help Aladdin. She decided she would bring Ali back. At that time, Raiha was in trouble and had to create fog to hide. The black mist had reached Sinbad's island. Draco had breathed fire to push them back, but to no avail, forcing Sinbad's army to retreat. Sinbad informed Jafar that the battle here was a diversion because their targets were Ali and Aladdin. Princess Qadian appeared to ask for Sinbad's permission to help. Anna was now completely overpowered by Ali. Ali had transformed his weapon to catch Anna and throw her away. Haru knew he had to do something, so he called out the Genie Jagan for support. Jagan decided to accept Haru as his master and created a wooden arm for Haru before disappearing. Anna had rushed forward again but was thrown by Ali and caught by Haru. Haru then rushed up and knocked away Ali's weapon so Anna could rush in and kick the eye to break it. Aladdin would take care of the rest. Back on the island, Raiha had run out of fog and had all the equipment on her body shattered by the enemy. She still taunted him to make him use all his power to shoot her once, but she had erected a shield to reflect that attack. That attack had incinerated half of the black mist on the island, and she revealed that the things he had shattered were just items containing her energy. In other words, they were just things restraining her power. When he had run out of energy, Mistress just needed to give him one spear thrust to finish him off. Princess Kabi had entered the battle and created a big wave, blowing away all the black mist from Sinbad's island. Meanwhile, Aladdin was looking for Ali in his mind. Someone had gently pushed to help Aladdin get closer. Ali had now asked Aladdin why he was still alive. If everything was controlled by fate, why should people strive to rise up? Aladdin believed that since they had been together, they had overcome fate many times. Despite continuously experiencing pain or despair, Ali had stood firm on his own feet. Because of that, Ali had made quite a few friends and also helped those people overcome their own fates. If he made a mistake, he just needed to correct it. Aladdin had successfully influenced Ali and brought him back to the light, but both still wanted to influence the remaining source of darkness. The mysterious man had run away and encountered Sinbad. He used holy equipment, but the more he used it, the more he would be eroded. However, Sinbad had already nullified the curse because he had been cursed for a long time. It's just that his curse wasn't as strong as the curse Sinbad was under. Dark Rook to him was just a source of power because he had already fallen long ago. Ali and Aladdin now faced that mysterious man once again. He revealed that his real body had been destroyed by Sinbad, so now he was just the mental demon of the curse. Originally, he spread darkness over the world to help those who wanted to resist fate, but Aladdin believed that if one rejected their fate, the world would lose the power to move forward. He then showed Aladdin his past. He used to be one of the three magi of King Solomon, the king of genies, but he was the dark magi and had continuously fought against the light magi and their forces from one era to another. So now he wanted both of them to kill him or he would perish together with them. But Ali didn't destroy him, he only slashed off the mask he was wearing. Aladdin then used magic and sent him back to Solomon. He found himself not knowing how to face Solomon now. Everything afterward came to an end. Ali returned to normal and the knight's soul met the princess one last time before returning to the flow. Aladdin also thanked Qasim because it was Qasim who pushed him closer to Ali while in his mind. Ali woke up and Anna, overjoyed, fell asleep. He also congratulated Haru on conquering a dungeon. The group then brought out the people who had been absorbed by the dungeon. Ali and Aladdin thanked each other for the thrilling adventure they had shared. Both of them had been through so much since they first met, and now their adventure would continue, taking them to even more distant places. Aladdin would continue being a magi, guiding Ali forward, and with that, the movie came to an end.